Hello and welcome back. My name is India and I happen to read a lot. And by the time you see this, I will be in Greece. Yes, I will be in the sun, next to a pool or next to the sea, and not sitting on a bus in 32-degree heat for an hour and 10 minutes, which is what I've been dealing with this week. Today we're going to be talking about the books that I hope to read on my very sunny holiday. I mentioned this very briefly in my mid-year freak out tag, that I kind of felt like I wasn't dedicating enough time to reading this year. The first half of the year was very, very crazy with applying for jobs and then settling into my new job. And even though I have this super long commute, I just wasn't in the headspace to read loads of books. But I'm hoping to kickstart that again, and I'm hoping to get back to my normal routine by spending an entire week reading. Not actually speaking to my boyfriend whatsoever, just reading books. So I thought I would give a little bit of a rundown of the books that I hope to get to on my holiday. Now you might think to yourself, India, this is way too many books for 1 week. So you just can't do these numbers and that's fine. No, I read a lot on my holidays. I can average, depending on the kind of book it is, a book a day, if not a book every 2 days. And based on the books that I've chosen here, I do think I will fly through them. I've chosen a lot of romance books, and I can read romance books, especially when I'm on holiday doing fuck all. I can read romance books in a day. I've read romance books in a day sitting on this sofa right here. So I can read a book in a day. So we're gonna dive in, we're gonna talk about them. This is gonna be a very quick and easy video, nothing too crazy. And then yeah, we'll see if I succeed in any way in my wrap-ups. So we're going to start off first with One Dark Window. As you can see, I'm currently reading this. I do not think I'm going to finish this before I get on the plane. So that is something to finish. It's not really a designated holiday book. It's just, I need to finish this, and I wanted to finish this before my holiday and I didn't. It's my book group book. I'm not even attending the book group because the book group is happening while I'm on holiday, but I've been really wanting to read this. So far, 150 pages in, very good. Yeah, that's just like a little shout out to One Dark Window. I'm not physically taking that book considering how many I've got. So it is on Kindle Unlimited, so I am going to get it on my Kindle and just read it on my Kindle. Talking about Kindle books, another book that I want to read, which I very kindly received from NetGalley, and please scroll to this time point if you don't want to hear my theories about certain book boxes. I think this is the July Illumicrate book. Pretty adamant it's the July Illumicrate book. Don't quote me on that, but I'm feeling confident. Anyway, it is A Snake Among Swans by Hannah Kaner. For those of you who don't know, I am a massive fan of the Fallen Gods trilogy. I read Godkiller just before it came out. I had a proof of every single book in the series. I've done an amazing 3-episode podcast series with the people at the Hidden Bookcase. That is in my link tree. You can go and listen to those even now. I have so much love for the Fallen Gods trilogy. Truly incredible. So we were actually talking about, in the very last episode, when we discussed Faithbreaker, we were talking about Hannah Kaner's new book, and I'm very intrigued for this. One of my standout things with Hannah Kaner was I loved the way that she did politics. I thought the political fantasy elements of her book were amazing, and I'm feeling very confident in this book. It is about a political marriage. I actually, going into this thinking about it, I requested it on NetGalley purely because it was Hannah Kaner, and all I know about it is that it's a political marriage, and it's about somebody who's trying to get intel on the royal family, and that is all I know. That is genuinely all I know. And that is actually weirdly all I want to know. Sometimes I think it is fun to not know everything about a book that you're going into. Following on from Kindle books, one of the books that I want to read is Powerless by Elsie Silver. Now you might be thinking to yourself, why are you holding a physical book and talking about Kindles? Again, I'm not trying to put all of these books in a suitcase. So I actually have got this on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm going to read it on my Kindle. There is a theme of certain books that I read on holiday. And last time I went away to Cyprus, check out the reading blog for that, one of the books that I read was the second one in this series, Heartless. So I'm just continuing that trend, and I'm reading Powerless in Greece. Yeah, it's been a long time since I read an Elsie Silver book. In the time that I read the last Elsie Silver book to now, I read an entire cowboy romance series. Please check out my full review for that. This one is the third book in the Chestnut Spring series. This is a cowboy romance series that follows the Eaton family, even though no member of this couple is a part of the Eaton family, technically. This follows Jasper. Jasper is an ice hockey player and he is a friend of the Eaton family. And this is very similar to Wild and Wrangled. I'm seeing a lot of very similar to Wild and Wrangled, in which he reconnects with his childhood friend, Sloane, and she's engaged to somebody else, and it's about how they fall back in love. I believe she's a ballerina. But because it's giving major Wild and Wrangled vibes by Lila Sage, or Lila's Wild and Wrangled is giving major Powerless vibes. Either way, I think I'm going to like it because Wild and Wrangled is my favourite book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series, so I'm feeling quite confident. Then I've got The Secret World of Briar Rose by Cindy Pham. I know Cindy from the YouTube videos where she was slacking off the ACOTAR series in a very drunk breakdown of the plot of each book. And I knew that I was going to support her no matter what once I watched those videos because she is hilarious. She has officially come out with her first ever book. I always think it's quite funny when you are, and it's something I've spoken about with a lot of my content creator friends who are also trying to be authors, is how do you balance reviewing books as a reader to then transitioning into being an author, because I have no interest personally in transitioning into being an author. Listen, she says maybe the bug might get me at some point, but I do love being very honest about my thoughts on books on this channel, and I just think, at what point do you have to be aware of what you're saying online because these could be your peers, you know? I don't know. But anyway, love Cindy so much. She is so bloody hilarious. So I had to go out and get her like her first ever book. So The Secret World of Briar Rose is a sapphic retelling of Sleeping Beauty. Specifically in this, instead of going to the castle to wake the sleeping princess, our main character goes into Sleeping Beauty's dreams, which I think is an incredibly interesting premise. I love a portal fantasy. I love dream worlds. I'm hoping that this will be incredibly interesting and exciting and have multiple different dreams. I know nothing going into this. I will be honest, the Goodreads reviews are not looking good. I'm hoping that that will change when I read it and we have a connection like no other. I'm feeling very hopeful. Then we have another trend. If I'm reading an Elsie Silver every time I go on holiday, I'm also reading a Christie every time I go on holiday. The last Christie book, well, I read Five Little Pigs on my annual leave earlier this year. Check out the weekly vlog. But in terms of holiday, when I was in Cyprus, I read Evil Under the Sun. So we're moving on to The Hollow. I'm very grateful that this isn't some like wintry autumnal tale, because that is not going to fit the god-awful Greece heat, I'll be completely honest. This is kind of what you would expect from a staple Christie. It's at an English country house. It's at a weekend party. Everybody at the party hates each other. There's a dead man in a pool, gun floating to the bottom of the pool. Poirot solves it. Genuinely, what more could you want in the grand scheme of things? I found Five Little Pigs to kind of be a little bit underwhelming, so I'm super hoping that The Hollow will come in clutch and be amazing. But yes, it would not be a trip abroad if I didn't have a Christie in my bag. Then we have Once Upon a Demon's Heart by K.M. Morinova. This was sent to me by the publisher. I have been in my romantasy era recently. As we all know, romance as a genre is something that I've been reading more and more of recently, but it's not something I read loads of. And the one kind of genre of romance that I haven't read is dark romance, which I now have read my first dark romance book. But also I don't really read too much romantasy, and I do want to do a video about kind of the pitfalls of romantasy, but I feel like I can't talk about romantasy as a genre if I haven't read more of it. So we're going to be reading Once Upon a Demon's Heart by K.M. Morinova. I've not read any K.M. Morinova stuff. Again, the Goodreads reviews weren't looking good. But Penguin have kindly sent this to me, so because of that, I'm going to make my own opinions, and I'm really sorry. Guys, this is a time loop romantasy. It follows two knights, warring factions, forced to get married, but they're killing each other every single time. Am I not? And you want me to not read that? Sorry. So I'm really hoping that everybody on Goodreads is wrong and my heart is correct. And I absolutely love and adore this. And we have a great time and I can let you know about it. But yeah, I mean, this is one beautiful cover. I will be honest, I absolutely love this. Yeah, I'm really hoping. I'm really trying to get in my romantasy era. I felt like I had a lot of opinions of romantasy, which a lot of opinions for someone who hasn't read so much of it. So I'm really kind of clocking in a shift, reading more romantasy, and yeah, then I want to discuss kind of romantasy as a whole. But you can't do that if you're not clocking in. So here we go. This is me clocking into the romantasy shift with Once Upon a Demon's Heart. And then finally, and I think this might be the most exciting book, the best book, the book I'm most excited to read, and the book that I have such high expectations for. And that is The Heirs by Farida Abike Amide. I've read every single one of her books. Okay, she's only wrote 2, but I've read them. And that is Ace of Spades and Where Sleeping Girls Lie. Genuinely amazing. Ace of Spades is was one of my go-to YA mystery recommendations. So incredibly good. Where Sleeping Girls Lie was an absolute tome, but for me, the character work was absolutely 10 out of 10 incredible. It was a case of, I kind of figured out the twist very early on, but I loved the characters so much, in a way of like, you can appreciate good writing, not necessarily they're good people, that I didn't care. I didn't care the fact that I figured it out. This is a very different page length to Where Sleeping Girls Lie, but I'm so incredibly excited to have my hands on this. I love her books so much. It's kind of giving Umbrella Academy in a very small way. We have this man whose name is Leontes Button. He is a billionaire who adopted 5 children. He adopts this method called the Button method, and these kids are geniuses. They are the best at fucking everything. And then one day at a party, the billionaire dad dies, and they are the main suspects. And between them, they have to figure out which one of them killed their billionaire adoptive father. I kind of like, it's giving Umbrella Academy in the fact that we've got this billionaire who's training these kids up. They are prodigies in everything that they do. They have complicated dynamics with each other, complicated dynamic with their billionaire father, and then he dies and they have to deal with the repercussions of his death. Yeah, anything that she writes, I will read. So I'm very excited to have my hands on this. And there we go. This is a big stack. Really, realistically, I'm taking this in my Kindle. And if you really think about it, people, that's not that many pages. And all I'm doing on this holiday is reading. Sorry to Harry. Like, last time I read an Elsie Silver novel on holiday, I read it in a day. Last time I read a Christie novel, I read it in a day and a half. These are all very short books, and mysteries and romantasy tend to be very fast paced. So I'm feeling very confident that I can read all of these. And if I don't, I don't. And I just carry them into July. I don't know what to tell you. But there we go. These are all the books that I hope to somehow tackle on my holiday in Greece. Currently, as you're watching this, tackling it right then and there. Right now. I'm in Greece like this. Reading. Getting a really awful book tan. Have you ever been out in the sun and like your inner elbow is pale because you've been reading? I have to tackle that when I go on holiday. What a first world problem. What a privileged problem to have. But yeah, I'm very excited to dive into these. I'm feeling very confident that the Goodreads reviews won't get me down and I'll love them. But please like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I will see you when I'm back. I do hope, bear with me, she says this, to do a reading vlog while I'm on holiday. I'm trying to do both a holiday vlog and a reading vlog. We'll see. I said that last time and I only did a holiday vlog. So we'll see. Bear with me. Should be fun. Also, I'm worried about the heat melting my camera, so...